गच्छामि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि द्वितीयं धम्मं गच्छामि द्वितीयं गच्छामि तृतीयं गच्छामि तृतीयं मं शरणं गच्छामि शरणं गच्छामि। आज की इस एक दिवसीय जिसमें कि तथागत गौतम बुद्ध की शाश्वत शिक्षा यूनिवर्सल टीचिंग्स ऑफ द बुद्धा विषय पर डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ यूनिवर्सिटी दरभंगा विशेष आज आयोजित सेमिनार के समाप्त आप सभी का स्वागत है। और जो आज का ये वेबिनार सेमिनार है, सबसे इस संस्था के प्रमुख डॉक्टर कन्हैया जी झा जी और इस कन्वीनर डॉक्टर विकास सिंह जी, कोऑर्डिनेटर डॉक्टर सुनीता जी आपके इस अथक श्रम आज इस विषय के माध्यम से पूरे देश दुनिया के लोगों को तथागत के बारे में जानकारी प्राप्त में भी ये है। तो इसी विमर्श में आज इस सत्र में जो मुख्य भूमिका, इस सत्र में लगभग हमारे 9 विद्वान में अपनी बात रखेंगे। और तो सबसे पहले मैं इस सत्र में जो हमारे आमंत्रित विद्वान जो हमारे अतिथि लोग हैं, जो उनके स्वागत भाषण, उनके स्वागत वचन के लिए मैं सबसे पहले करना चाहता हूं डॉक्टर विकास सिंह जी को कि आप, और समय का हम सबको समय का सभी लोग इनका हिस्से में लगभग 10 मिनट का समय है। तो मैं विकास से निवेदन करता हूं, विद्वान लोग हैं आज के जो हैं का वेलकम करें, उनका स्वागत करें। जी सर।
निरोधम अनुत्पादम अनुच्छेदम शाश्वतम अनेकार्थम अनानार्थम अनागमम अनिर्गमम यः प्रत्यक्ष समुत्पादम प्रपंचोक्षमं शिवम देशयामास संबुद्धस्तं वन्दे वदताम्बरम्। Good evening to all honorable dignitaries from the global family. On the behalf of our organizing team, I, Dr. Vikas Singh, welcome you all in this international seminar cum webinar entitled Universal Teachings of the Buddha, organized by Marwari College, Lalit Narayan Mithila University, Darbhanga, Bihar. I welcome chairperson of the valedictory session, Professor Mahesh Ashok Devkar sir, Head Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Savitribai Phule, Pune University, Pune, Maharashtra. I welcome our chief guest of the valedictory session, Professor Bimlendra Kumar, Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, UP. I welcome guest of honor of the valedictory session, Dr. Balram Shukla, famous Persian, Sanskrit and Prakrit poet, Associate Professor, Department of Sanskrit, University of Delhi. like I would like to welcome the special guest of the validatory session, Dr. Frapalas Sorovit Ofipanyo, Assistant Professor, Mahakasaba Raj Vidyalaya University, Thailand. I welcome to our distinguished guest, Venerable Professor M.S. Sara, Head Department of Pali Nikaya, Myanmar Institute of Oriental Studies, Yangon, Myanmar. I welcome to our Honorable Guest Nayak Sir, the former Vice Chancellor Dr. V.R. Ambedkar, University of Social Science, Madhya Pradesh. I welcome to our respected guest, Dr. Venerable Kandingama Deepagan Salankar Mathero, Lecturer, Department of Pali, Buddhist and Pali University of Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka. I welcome to Venerable Deep Ratan Mahachulankon Raj Vidyalaya University, Thailand. I welcome to Coordinator of the Validatory Session, Dr. Ramhit Gautam, Assistant Professor, Department of Sanskrit, Dr. Hari Singh Gaur, Central University, Sagar, Madhya Pradesh. I welcome to Dr. Rajendra Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of Sanskrit, Janki Devi Memorial College, University of Delhi. On behalf of the organizers of the international seminar cum webinar, I would like to express my most sincere gratitude to all of you for your kind presence. Thank you, sir.
अब इस सत्र में जो कि स्वागत वक्तव्य में हम लोगों ने सुना कि शाश्वत शिक्षा पर चर्चा होने वाली है, तो 100 बुद्ध की स्वत्व का बोध हमेशा बंधन कारक है, अर्थ का बोध हमेशा निर्माण कारक है। बस इसी को केंद्रित करके संपूर्ण शिक्षा विमर्श होगा। तो इसी विमर्श को लेकर के हम आगे बढ़ते हैं और मैं आज के वक्ताओं में से स्पेशल गेस्ट डॉक्टर प्रपलाद सोरावत अभिपन्नी से निवेदन करता हूं कि आप सादर आए और हम लोगों को अपने विचारों से अवगत कराएं। बहुत स्वागत है। यस। बहुत बहुत सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मानव और जिस किस प्रकार से नदी के ने संपूर्ण स्वार्थों को त्याग करके वो सारे आप को छोड़ करके और बुद्धत्व अब अगले वक्ता के रूप में हमारे यस जस्ट हमारे म्यांमार से और आप सादर आमंत्रित हैं सर। सर जी।
नमो तस्से अरहतो सम्बुद्धस्से नमो तस्से भगवतो अरहतो मा सम्बुद्धस्से नमो तस्से भगवतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्से। Thanks for your invitation, Dr. Vikas Singh. This very international on universal teachings of the Buddha, organized department of Lalit Narayan Tila University. Actually, seminar for Buddhism. Like to explain or present something about the role of Mahakasaba, leader of the first two universities of Buddhist to with the large new of monks at monks. He saw as it with the flower of coral tree and then inquired whether he had seen the Buddha or not. This is the tradition Hatha Sangiti Vinaya book. In Gupta Vinaya book, that ascetic was a Nigantana the Buddha instead of Bhaiyavacha. Anyway, the ascetics reported the Samana Gautama has attained the great demise a week ago and picked up the flower from there. After hearing this news, some monks who have not yet abandoned desire lamented the death of the Buddha. Other monks were liberated from sensual desire and took the Dhamma Samvega. Mahasangika Vinaya, Dhammagupta Vinaya, and Mahisasaka Vinaya have slightly different versions. However, Venerable Mahakasaba admonished them not to grieve or lament, as the Buddhists taught that whatever was the nature of birth, it is of the decay and extinction. Venerable Subhadda also told not to lament. After the monks could do whatever they fit, not that actually was a member of Sakya. Then Venerable Mahakasaba suggested that Dhamma and Vinaya before what is not Dhamma and what is not Vinaya shined. And he became the convener of this council, leader. Here, there is a question. Why Mahakasaba became the president of First Buddhist Council? The first reason is all sources examined here agreed that he was the most senior monk in the Sangha. How can we know the senior monk? In the text, whenever Mahakasaba called Anand a child or boy, actually, whenever Ali ordained, that was if whenever Mahakasaba, it is clear that Mahakasaba was the third disciple of the Buddha. The first and the second disciple, who are whenever Saribuddha and Moggallana, had away before the great demise of the Buddha. And duties to maintain the teaching and discipline of the Buddha came to Venerable Mahakasaba. Okay, the second, he was honored of Mahakasaba since the very first time confrontation with the Buddha. The Buddha gave his, and Mahakasaba got the son of Buddha. Receiver of robes of the Buddha. And the third reason was honored as the Buddha, the transcendental attainment, not equal with in transcendental attainments. The first jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, akasananchayatana jhana, vinyananchayatana jhana, nivasanyana, sanyavedi, nirodha samapat. One brought forward presence of bhikkhus. Mahakasaba became a person who must lead the first Buddhist council. The monks. This is the fourth. Many people think only Ananda, 10% for Dhamma. We are not able to forget the role of Mahakasaba as the question of Dhamma. And I say in Pali, this Sangiti Puchaka concept. Comprehensively interrogated, spoken, with Sutta was spoken. In the entire and he has. He cannot ask those. In this manner, the knowledge of Venerable Mahakasaba on Dhamma and on the other hand, we may think that some suttas in Samyutta Nikaya as Kassapa Samyutta, because those suttas were not Wame Sutta, which is admitting of and do not have founded by the Buddha. The Mahakasaba. I would like to further on the first Buddhist council, Venerable Purana, and 100 monks into Rajagaraha. The participants of the first Buddhist council told to approach the what they wanted. Praise the council. 10 monks were chanted that bear those teachings method Buddha. in our Theravada tradition, there is no Purana and the monk, the first Buddhist concept. Even in the commentary, but in Dhammagupta Vinaya and Mahisa Purana, Mahakasaba, for 8 he personally received in the presence of the Buddha. Then, whenever that 7 rules were laid down, not all the time, but there's a clear point whether Venerable put his interpretation or not. Here, we can see that monk who explained about Vinaya was not Ubali, but Mahakasaba. Therefore, who had under Dhamma and Vinaya rather than what Mahakasaba is worth to be the president of the first Buddha. Evidence of Venerable Mahakasaba. He selected and participants. The fully enlightened one, Hans, Shinasava Bhikshu. Therefore, Venerable Ananda, who was Mahakasapa, 100 less 99. Those monks who were selected suggested that Ananda be included in the number because he had mastered much Dhamma and Vinaya at the presence of the Buddha. There are some different variants and Mahisasaka Vinaya show that Mahakasapa then included Ananda, completing the number 500. And to participate in concept was also important role of Mahakasapa to accomplish my topic. Venerable Mahakasapa was a wonderful monk who could sit the throne of Buddha, was a patriarch of the Sangha order, and he led the first Buddhist council to of the Buddha, which is scattered like flowers. By his best decision, action, of since the first Buddhist council will never forget his philanthropy. And for your invitation, Bhaiyavacha Singh. Thank you.
सादर बंधन बनते। अगले सर फॉर्मर वाइस चांसलर डॉक्टर बी.आर. अम्बेडकर यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ सोशल साइंस मध्य प्रदेश, आप से आग्रह है, निवेदन है कि आप हम लोगों के बीच अपने विचार रखें। सर, प्रोफेसर
सीडी नायक सर नहीं जुड़ पाए हैं सर, और बंती कंडेंगम दीपो वंश अलंकार महाथेरो जी से भी अभी बात हुई है। उनके यहाँ श्रीलंका में पावर कट के साथ में इंटरनेट बंद कर दिया है, इंटरनेट की सर्विसेज नहीं चालू है, इसलिए वो स्पीकर पे आप चले गए।
फिर गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर डॉक्टर बलर आप
मक्षयोधीरा नहीं पड़ रही है ना?
जी सर।
ललित नारायण विद्यालय के अंतर्गत मारवाड़ी महाविद्यालय के तत्वावधान में महाकाश सार्वभौम शिक्षाओं के संबंध में जो ये संगोष्ठी आयोजकों को डॉक्टर विकास सिंह जी ने बड़े ही बड़े प्रयत्न से नहीं भारत के बड़े नेताओं को यहाँ उपस्थापित किया और मैं इसके लिए भी उनका धन्यवाद देता हूँ कि उन्होंने मुझे यहाँ उपस्थित किया। मैं इस विषय में अद्वितीय नहीं हूँ। भगवान बुद्ध तो प्रत्येक भारतीय ही नहीं, प्रत्येक मानव के चैतन्य और सबको समझती है। तो में कहने के लिए मुझे ध्यान ये होगा कि भगवान बुद्ध बात शासन को कितना सा और भगवान बुद्ध को प्रोजेक्ट करते हैं क्या शिक्षाओं की या एक दृष्टि रहती है लोगों की। भगवान आंदोलन था, जो क्रांति थी, जो धार्मिक क्रांति थी, जिसने के भारतीय बहुत ज्यादा फर्क डाला। उस वो एक आंदोलन धर्म सुधार के रूप में थी, क्या उस कारण था, या उसका कुछ निरंतर आंतरिक कारण था? ये प्रश्न वहां है कि से उनकी शिक्षा बहुमुखता अथवा तात्कालिक है। अगर कोई आंदोलन समाज सुधार संबंधी आंदोलन होता है तो वो सामान्यतया किसी विपरीत कंट्रास्ट में उदित होता है। उदाहरण आधुनिक भारत में जिस कथा कथित होता है उस फिल्मों को उदाहरण के रूप में रख सकते हैं। तो जो सनातन चीजें में उसके अंदर ही एक खड़ा होता है। लेकिन क्या भगवान बुद्ध था, अगर हम सभी लोग देख कि वो सारे आंदोलन जो नवजागरण के युग में शुरू हुए थे, अपना अपना कार्य करके कृतकृत्य हो गए और एक तरह से वो उस महान भारतीय परंपरा। लेकिन भगवान बुद्ध का संदेश केवल भारत के बाहर बहुत सारे देशों ढंग से मिला, अपितु भारत में मंद गति का होते हुए भी वो बहुत पल्लवित कारणों से होता रहा है। तो अगर कोई धार्मिक जो सुधारवादी आंदोलन होता है वो काल को दो खंडों में बांट देता है। वो एक दो तरह के पास्ट को क्रिएट करता है, दो तरह के भूतकाल को, एक तो जो प्राचीन भूतकाल होता है और एक निकट का भूतकाल होता है, रिमोट पास्ट और रिसेंट पास्ट। तो रिसेंट पास्ट का विरोध करता है, रिमोट पास्ट का वो महिमा मंडन करता है। सुधारवादी चाहे कोई भी धर्म, कोई भी आंदोलन हो, उसके अंतर्गत एक विशिष्टता होती है। वो ऐसा कहते हैं कि पहले तो सब कुछ ठीक था, हुआ तो हम बीच वाली चीज का विरोध करते हैं, बाद वाली चीज का की निंदा करते हैं। तो ऐसा माना जाता है कि उस समय प्रचलित धर्म के क्षेत्र में समाजवान जो शासन था वो उनके खिलाफ विरोध में था। सही भी हो करना क्या उनका कि उन्हीं को ध्यान में रख करके उन्होंने ज्ञान बनाया, अपने धर्म किया, धर्म चक्र पटिस्वत्गामी थे, विपरीत चलने वालों में से। सबसे पहले ये ध्यान में रखना चाहिए इनका जो धर्म उदित हुआ था, जिस धर्म चक्र का प्रवर्तन उन्होंने किया था, वो संसार नहीं था, अपितु वो प्रतिनिधित्व करता है क्योंकि अंततः का विकल्प की खोज की निरंतरता था। ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण बात है कि ये हमेशा कल्याण के वैकल्पिक मार्गों का खोज करते ही रहते हैं। चाहे पास कितना भी समर्थ मार्ग अंतर अन्य मार्गों की खोज होती ही रहती है। अब वैदिक मार्ग को देखें, उसके साथ आप अगर औपनिषदिक मार्ग को देखें, वैदिक मार्ग को देखते हैं तो आप प्रवृत्ति परक मार्ग पाते हैं, और जो प्रवृत्ति परक मार्ग तो यद्यपि उसके अंत है तो प्लवाहित अदृढ़ा यज्ञ रूपी जो ये नौकाएं हैं वे सड़ी गली दिखाई पड़ता है। वो प्रथम आर्य सत्य वो ये नहीं कह रहे कि हम हो रहे हैं, जो में उसके हाथ के लिए इस उदित होते रहते हैं भारत में, इसी कारण से था। कर्ण जिन्होंने बहुत अच्छा कि ये जो है वो सप्लाई ऑफ द सैल्वेशन वाज प्रोपोर्शनेट टू द डिमांड, कि भारतीयों का डिमांड बहुत ज्यादा है। मोक्ष के मार्ग के वैकल्पिक रास्तों की डिमांड इतनी अधिक भारत में है, एक आध्यात्मिक देश रहा है कि उसमें विभिन्न मार्गों के खोज की बहुत आवश्यकता रही है, बहुत कम है। इसलिए इस उदाहरण स्वरूप में दो बातें कहूंगा कि वे भगवान बुद्ध जो हैं वो समसामयिक परंपराओं का करके अपने प्रवचनों को कृतकृत्य नहीं। उदाहरण के लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण संस्थाएं उस समय रही भारत में, नामक संस्था और संस्था। अगर आप भगवान बुद्ध के वचनों को ध्यान तो आपको पता चलेगा कि उसके एसेंस के रूप में भगवान बुद्ध उसका विरोध नहीं करते हैं। एक उसमें जो कुरीतियां आ गई हैं उसको लेकिन उसके पीछे एक सामाजिक मंतव्य पूरा प्रयोजन पूरा होता है। मुझे नहीं लगता कि वो उसको वो ये नहीं कहते कि ये कैसा ब्राह्मण, क्यों ब्राह्मण है, ऐसा नहीं कहते। वो कहते हैं ये कैसा ब्राह्मण है, ब्राह्मण कैसा होना चाहिए। अपने ब्राह्मण तो हो ना हो ब्राह्मण, ये स्वर वही स्वर भगवद गीता गुण या धब्बेसु पारगु गच्छन्ति जान। तो आप जानते हैं कि धर्म पद में बड़ा वर्ग है, की चर्चा तो बुद्ध ब्राह्मण बताया जाता है, लेकिन मूल ग्रंथों को देखने से बात स्पष्ट हो कि इन्होंने संस्था के रूप में ब्राह्मण नहीं किया, अपितु इस कोटि है, कैटेगरी है, उसको के साथ स्पृहणी सद्गुणों को जोड़ते हुए इसके से जन्म को हटाया। भिक्षु का भी आदर्श वही बताया जो एक ब्राह्मण का आदर्श है। और बहुत सारी चीजें, केवल ब्राह्मण जटा बढ़ाने में से कोई ब्राह्मण नहीं होता, मैं उसको छोड़ता हूँ, तो वही परंपरा वज्रसूची इत्यादि में दिखाई पड़ती है, जो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण उन्होंने बताया है कि ब्राह्मण सकता है। तो को ने बताया कि वास्तविक यज्ञ क्या चीज है। तो यज्ञ की जो संस्था संगत है, दान है, पूजा है इत्यादि, इससे संबंधित चीजों को प्रकट किया। और इससे चलता है कि वो उनके उपदेश केवल एक सामाजिक तात्कालिक संदर्भों में न होकर के वास्तविक और सार्वभौमिक थे। और यही कारण है कि बाद में जब अपने उनको बहुत ज्यादा, और क्योंकि भारतीय धारा एक बहुत प्रमुख धारा के पुस्तक थे, जो सर्व है और सार्वभौम है, जिसके अंतर्गत सभी लोगों को स्थान, सभी दुखों से खुशी है। समय मुझे इसमें समय दिया गया और मुझे अवसर दिया गया इस कार्यक्रम संयोजन, उनको साधुवाद देते हुए मैं वाणी से लेता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
बहुत बहुत साधुवाद सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। संदेश कहा है कि सार्वजनिक है, वो हर किसी के लिए खुला हुआ है। इसके लिए किसी निर्वाण की कसौटियों से मुक्त सारे मार्ग हैं, लेकिन निष्ठ मार्ग हैं, में कोई किसी के लिए कोई कसौटी नहीं है कि कितने दिनों को पढ़ रखा हो, कितने उन्होंने उपासनाएं कर रखी, क्या त्यागा हो, क्या ना त्यागा हो। अंगुली माल जैसे लोगों को भी उन्होंने, यानी हर किसी द्वार खुला है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। अब अगले वक्त चाहूंगा सर, अगर सर आ गए हों, प्रोफेसर जुड़ गए हैं सर क्या? और फिर डॉक्टर वेन गामा दीप अलंकार सर, अगर कोई नहीं है मैं आगे बढ़ता हूँ। तो करूँ सर पर? जी सर। तो आज समापन सत्र के चीफ गेस्ट प्रोफेसर योगेंद्र कुमार सर। जी,
thank you very much, Reverend, our venerable monks, most respected my dear friend Professor Mahesh Devkar ji, chairman of this plenary session of international webinar, and the speakers who are present or those who are presenting their views in this, my dear brothers and sisters. It is indeed a great matter of pleasure for me to get this celebration of Buddha Jayanti. This is being organized by Marwari College, a constituent unit of our Lalit Narayan Mithila University. I'm really thankful to all the members of the organizing committee who is the celebration of this Buddha Jayanti. I'm going to speak on the 10 meritorious deeds. We are quite aware that there are fruits or there are resultant of our performing 10 types of meritorious deeds. Buddha has given much importance on the performance of meritorious deeds. The main purpose of speaking on this very subject that this 10 meritorious deeds are universal teachings of the Buddha. If you go to 10 types of meritorious, find that how 10 types of meritorious deeds are going to perform social harmony or universal brotherhood in our society as well as in our country also. Important for performing of the 3 types of trainings, Iso Sikha or Tri Siksha. These deeds are very much necessary. And Buddha also to do our 10 meritorious deeds, we cannot purify our consciousness. Buddha also says to purify our consciousness, it is very indeed how you are going to purify your consciousness. So Buddha has given much stress on the purification of our consciousness, Chitta Visuddhi. And Buddha also says that why Chitta Visuddhi is important, because our consciousness is immense. Also, Uttar Nikaya Buddha says that Pakati Pavasaram Idam Chittam He Uptilitam, that our consciousness and it is being defiled by our inward incoming defiling factors. So it is easy to remove our defiling factors, the kleshas. So these 10 types of meritorious deeds are necessary to be performed by a person or a laity persons. So we, in a very brief manner, I am going to discuss all these 10 types of meritorious deeds. First of all is Dan. Dan has much importance in Buddhism also. Is defined as the Dan is it is in Alobo iti Chago, that it is in the sense of Aloba has also, you can say, in the sense of that how you are removing or dispelling a desire for. So the main enemy of Dan is our love. So how you are giving the charity, how you are giving the things in the sense of generosity. This is the Dan. And if you go through the 6 parmitas or 10 types of parmitas which are available in our Pali, you will also see that the Dana Parmita has got the first place in all the 10 types of perfections. Kriya Dan has also got the first, you can say, place, and it has been defined in the sense of generosity, and it dispels the things which has not been given to you. So there are 2 types of Dan which have been discussed in our Pali literature. Dan or generosity, which is given out self. Whenever you are giving all things, the welfare of all the human beings, Amisdan, you are giving all the wealth, even land, Amisdan, Dhammadan, which is also called as that when you are preaching the Buddha, or when you are writing, and this Dhammadan is nothing but it is a self doing Dhammadan for the sake are main Amisdan and Dhammadan, which have been discussed in our Pali Jatakas also. If you go through that, how Dana Parmita has been discussed in our 550 stories available in Jataka. There are three types of dan also, which has been given as a slave dan or slave generosity or friendly dan, or you can say Lord dan. So whenever there is a weak consciousness, weak volition to give something or to part belongings or to your near and dear persons, this is called as slave dan. So here love is also prevalent, and it does not give you to part with all your belongings. Second is called as that whenever you give something for the sake of a friend, and if you are giving some belongings to your friends, this is called as friend dan or mitra dan. And third is called as Sami dan or Lord charity. So this is that when you are sacrificing all of your belongings for nothing, this is called as Sami dan or Lord charity. So these types of dan have been discussed in our Pali literature in a very detailed manner. The second aspect which I am going to discuss, that is called as sila, that is the morality. This is called as second punya kriya or second moral deed, meritorious deeds. So seal has been defined that it curtails the physical and vocal misdeeds. Acharya Buddha Ghosh defines the seal that it is in the sense of composing silana. And again, Acharya Buddha Ghosh silana is in the sense of samadhan and upadharanam. So here samadhan or coordination is nothing but it is in consistency. All the good contact related with the refraining, killing living beings, stealing of the things and other things. So this is called as samadhan. And upadharana is nothing but kuslanam dhammanam patithan vasena adhar bhavoti yato. That upadharan is in the sense of establishing the moral dhammas, and it is the base of that. So seal has been defined, and it is also called as a meritorious deeds. And until unless meritorious deeds like seal, you cannot have hiriyan or tappa. It is the self same and the social same. So necessary for cultivating or for purification of our mind also. The second aspect which has, the third aspect which has been discussed as a bhavana. Bhavana means practice or development. It is nothing but it is the one pointedness of the moral consciousness. Kusal chitas ekagatati samadhi. So here bhavana is developed or practiced through the meditations. It is another name of the Rup Samadhi or the Arup Samadhi. So one can meditate or contemplate or recollect, that is the anusannati or anusati by attainment of all the meritorious deeds. So this is also called as the universal teachings of the Buddha. and one has to perform, because until unless you do not practice, you cannot understand the pariyatti, that is the original teachings of the Buddha. So that bhavana has also got one place in our Dasa Punya Kriya. And again, the next, this is called as a Patti Dan. Patti is the act of meritorious of merit done. It's called as that if a person does the meritorious deeds sense or moral this, if you, the resultant of the moral deeds, the humanity, for the sake of the whole state, or you can say society, this is called as Patti Dana. So this is also necessary, and it gives social harmony in our society also. The next is called as Pat Anumodana, that if a person who is giving, transferring, or sharing the meritorious deeds, and that receiving of that resultant of the moral deeds, this is called as Pat Anumodana. That if it gives in the sense of that you are sharing the, or you are receiving the meritorious deeds, or resultant of the meritorious deeds which has been done by another persons, and also you are congratulating in those persons who are sharing their meritorious deeds or meritorious conduct, and you are also encouraging them to perform more merits for the sake of humanity, or for the sake of, you can say, human mankind. The next is called as Bhaiyavacha. So Bhaiyavacha is nothing but that how you are giving respect or reverence to your senior monks, senior members of the Buddha Sangha, and how you are respecting your elders, parents, and this is called as Bhaiyavacha. So this is also necessary for our Dasa Punya Kirima, or for purification of our consciousness. So this is called as Bhaiyavachara, and it is called also, this Bhaiyavacha provides service and assisting others to meritorious deeds. And in another sense, it also promotes the Dhamma also, and improves the living standards of the people also. So this is the, you can say, Bhaiyavacha, that if you are giving respect to the sick person, to the old person, or to the parents, it purifies your consciousness also. The next meritorious deed is called as Apachayana, that is the paying reverence to the deserving persons. That if you are respecting reverence to our triple gem, or the parents, or the teachers, our the elder persons of the society, so in that way this is called as Apachayana, and how it is creating the harmonious welfare in the society. So this is called as Apachayana. Next is called as a Dhamma Desana. Here Dhamma Desana is nothing but preaching the teachings of the Buddha to the common people. And there must not be that if you are preaching something to someone, you are expecting something from those persons in lieu of preaching by that persons. So it is out of the self that how you are preaching for the sake of unity, how you are composing the text for the welfare of the human beings, Bahujan Hitaya, Bahujan Sukhaya. So this is necessary for our purification of our consciousness. So next is called as a Dhamma Savana. Thus next, that is the Dhamma Sutti. the next meritorious duty, that how the hearing of the teachings of the Buddha purifies your consciousness. When you hear the teachings or listening the teachings of the Buddha, how you are purifying your consciousness, how your consciousness or the kilesas are being removed. So it is a stage of or Dhamma has given also much importance for the purification of our consciousness. The next is called that a stirring of our false views or rectification of our false views also in another way. So Ditti is here in the sense of false views. So here Ditti is in the sense of Michha Ditti, that not knowing the Four Noble Truth, not knowing the law of dependent origination, not knowing the law of dependent originations, not knowing the Eightfold Path, not knowing the past existence, present existence, and the future existence. This is called as Michhaditti. And just that how you are rectifying the false views related with your Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and other things. This is called as a rectification. So this is the last, you can say, the Punya Kriya or meritorious deeds, which also purifies our consciousness. So in that way, all these 10 meritorious deeds are necessary for Tisso Sikha or 3 types of trainings, also Seal, Samadhi or Panya, which are considered as a 3-step purification of our mind also. So whatever we have seen, Apachayana, Bhaiyavacha, so these types, that whenever you are giving respect or reverence to your elders or venerable monks or to the elders of the society, how it improves the standard of the society, how it gives the lives of the common people in a better way, and how the society is being harmonized, how universal brotherhood is being, you can say, developed. So these are some of the things that how you are paying respect to other things, even sharing the meritorious deeds to other persons also. This also gives, you can say, the more purification of our consciousness also. And Dhamma or Dhamma Savana, this is also necessary for happiness to both of the teacher as well as listener also. So, and while encouraging both to live in line with the Dhamma, and this is also called that there are 6 types of the attributes of the Dhamma. So Akhato, Akaliko, Ehipasiko, Pachattam. So these are the 6 types of attributes. So this Dhammas Desana and Dhamma towards the our this making harmonious or universal brotherhood in our society also. And whenever you are false views are rectified, this is also enabling a person to show the others the beauty of the Dhamma, that how this Dhamma has the characteristics of 6 types of, you can say, attributes of the Dhamma. So these rectifications are leading to understand, is going to lead that Dhamma Sabhav Pativedana Lakanati Paya, and these are going to lead, you can say, get a state of eternal bliss also. So in that way, these are very much, and on the occasion of the Buddha Jayanti, which we are celebrating, it is necessary to follow this Dasa Punya Kriya or 10 types of meritorious deeds. So with these words, I am very much thankful to organizing committee of this international webinar being organized by our Marwari College of Lalit Narayan Mitra University especially to Dr. Vikas Gautam, who is the head of the department of Sanskrit department of Marwari College, committee of this international webinar. Thank you very much.
सर बहुत धन्यवाद सर। आपने तो सर अपने वक्तव्य से एकदम जिज्ञासा कि असुघोष सौंदर्यनंद में कहते हैं अब निर्वाण की इच्छा ये इतनी प्रबलित हो चुके जाए, लेकिन बंधन है सर। बहुत धन्यवाद सर, बहुत साधुवाद सर। और
Thank you very much.
गए थे तो लोग आए हैं तो उनको सर अब मैं अपने आज के समापन के अध्यक्ष चेयरपर्सन प्रोफेसर महेश अशोक देव, हेड डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पाली बुद्धिस्ट स्टडी, खुले पुणे यूनिवर्सिटी, पुणे महाराष्ट्र से अध्यक्ष उद्बोधन हम लोगों को प्राप्त हो। सर
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। नमो तस् भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स। नमो तस् सम्बुद्धस्स। नमो तो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स। I would like to pay my reverence the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha on this auspicious occasion of celebrating my homage to the honorable members of the Bhikkhu Sangha. Peter is present for the webinar as well as seminar, so I think it is held in both online and offline mode. My sincere appreciation to all those who shared their views today in this valedictory session, and all those who have made presentations in today's webinar. Thanks are due to Dr. Vikas Singh ji, the coordinator of this webinar, for inviting me to share a few thoughts with you on the occasion of the valedictory session. This particular seminar was focused on the universal teachings of the Buddha. Now, the question is, what do we mean by in this valedictory session? Some of our speakers have pointed out some teachings of the, like the four Brahma Viharas, and just now we heard Professor Vimlendra Kumar ji talking about the 10 Punya Kriya Vattus. So there are certain teachings which are called universal teachings, but in fact, if we look at Buddha's teachings, the whole path in which he teaches his Dhamma, actually say that these teachings are all universal. And how can, I mean, when we say something is universal, universally applicable, that means it has potential of being practiced by one and all. So in what way it is universal? I mean, when we say that Buddhist teaching is universal, of course, it presupposes that some other teachings by teachers or in other traditions not so universal. And so we have to actually think about this topic, that why Buddha's teachings are universal, and in what sense are they universal? Many thinkers have discussed, and what comes to my mind immediately is the discussion made by Dr. Ambedkar in his Buddha and Dhamma, where he discusses this particular nature of Buddha's teachings. And Dr. Ambedkar has very rightly pointed out that Buddha's teachings become universal because he was principles and not rules. So, based on his teacher's viewpoint, I mean, the viewpoint of Professor John Dewey, I mean, the Columbia University in US, where Dr. Principle, in this particular thought to, he says that Buddha's teaching is based on not on rules, and he makes a distinction between the religion based on rules and religion based on principles. And according to him, which give you rules, these are normative rules. That means what to do and what not to do, right? Whereas Buddhism tells you why to do certain things and why not to do certain things. Now, if we look at Buddha's approach to his teaching, the Kalama Sutta, for example. I mean, I'm not talking about these 10 points, which are well known and well discussed about Buddha's, and it is also considered as Buddha's charter of free will. I'm not going to talk about that, but what I'm going to talk about is that when Kalamas want to know what is right and what is, Buddha does not give them a list of things and list of things which are wrong. Rather, what he does is that he gives them principles to judge themselves what is right and what is wrong. So he says that whatever is done with good intention and whatever has yields good results, results which are beneficial to oneself, praised by wise men, these are on the basis of which you can judge what is good and what is bad and what you should do and what you should not do. In another sutta, for example, on the Rahulavada Sutta, the Buddha gives the same principle to his, and he tells him that how to and what not to do, right? So Buddha provides for us, for every individual, to decide what is right and what is wrong. And he is not giving us hardcore rules whether which to follow or not to follow. Now, so for every rule of morality which we have, we have, for example, now some people might say, okay, but Buddha has Panchashila or Dashashila. He says that, okay, I will stop this, I will not do this, and so on. But these are in terms of commitments. We have Eightfold Path. This is again, what one should cultivate. So Buddha has given us a list. But every time, the principle on the basis has to judge this is the principle which we have already seen, that whatever comes out of good intention, whatever is beneficial to one and all, and whatever is praised by wise men, that is a good thing. Now, therefore, Buddha's teachings, things are not absolute. For example, when we have a moral precept of right, not non-violence. Now, this is not an absolute principle in Buddhism, because we have to judge whether in certain situations utmost necessary for achieving good of many. Then that is allowed. For example, a king is allowed to punish the wrongdoers for the sake of the benefit of many. A bodhisattva is also allowed to kill if that is necessary for the benefit of many. I mean, these kind of moral questions always arise, and one has to take a decision. For example, when Buddha talks about telling truth, abstaining from the falsehood, he has also given us a principle that whenever you want to speak something, just check whether that which you are which you want to pronounce, whether that is beneficial or not. I mean, even in the Vinaya rules, for example, accuser, a chodaka, is supposed to make a self-inquiry whether what accusation he is going to make, is it based on facts, is it uh, is it done with intentions and not bad intentions, and is it something which is going to be beneficial for the person and for the sangha as a whole. And if he answered in affirmative, only then he should go ahead with that. So you can see that, I mean, whatever guidelines Buddhism, behind those guidelines there are these principles which Buddha has given, thing can be discussed. Right? So this is one aspect of looking at this universality, that Buddhism is a religion which gives you principles and not rules, because as Ambedkar says, I mean, the rules can be broken, but the principle is something very, and if you have principle, then that will automatically guide you to act morally. And this is something which comes from within. This is not something which is imposed by authority. And if you break them, you will be punished. Right? But the principles are not like principles are something which are sacred, and which is something which one has to observe self-conscious. Right? So there is, so in fact, Speaker has very nicely put it. He says that if one requires authority for the implementation of principles, then that is no more a principle. For truth. But if I simply because of some threats of law or penalizing, then that is not a principle for me. So this is an important thought, and I think scholars of Buddhism will pay attention to this facts. Aspect could be the quality of being applicable without discrimination. Now, if you look at Buddha's teachings, in a way, so in the beginning, Venerable recited Buddha's Sabba Papasa Sampada Sodapanam Etam Buddhasanam. I mean, now these teachings are universal because they are practiced by they can be observed by, I mean, of country, religion, yeah, and time and principles are Muslim or a Buddhist, and they are also applicable equally to a person who is Indian or American or Sri Lankan. So this is some a culture or a or region-free kind of teachings, which are applicable or which could be times and in all places. Yeah. So there are no restrictions in terms of uh, any cultural limitation. So there are no cultural limitation. In that sense, these teachings are universal, right? So even an American can practice Buddhism without really having to change anything of his day-to-day lifestyle, right? In the same way, it could be done by anyone at any given time. Day-to-day cultural life, because culturally we all are different. I mean, our food habits are different. The way we uh, the way we I mean follow certain customs. I mean, these are all region, time bound, and culture bound. But in order to practice Buddhism, one need not really give up all those, right? So, I mean, in this sense too, Buddhism is universal because it does not really it does not really tell you to change the way you dress, the way your mind. And since it is concerned with your mind, it becomes universal. If you look at the mode of Buddhism, even that too is so universal, and it is so culture free. I mean, for example, when we talk about meditation, so we have, like, for example, in so four satipatthanas, we have our body, our feelings, our mind, and other important uh, phenomena. I mean, mental phenomena, which is what we observe, on which we do vipassana, or for example, like anapanasati practice or practice of morality. Now you see that all these things, they are culture free. A theist or a non-theist, a believer or non-believer can still practice them, right? Because these are things which are, I mean, we say they are inner. They concern your own mind, your own person. So in this sense, there are no cultural limitations for the practice. Organizations mean there you need not remember any particular deity, any you need not kind of follow any particular diet, or you need not follow any particular mode of prayer. This is universal. So in that sense, this is universal. Now, even when we say practices like Buddhanuspati and so on, I mean, even though we talk about Buddha, but what we are talking about is the enlightened qualities which one is supposed to memorize or to recollect. So one is that's a great difference between Buddhism and other religious traditions, right? So in this sense too, Buddhism is quite universal. And now there was one more topic which came up in the discussion today, and that was about what kind of religion is Buddhism and what kind of thought it is. Is it a reaction, or is it a reformative thing, or is it something which is social or not? I mean, as I just now said, I mean, Buddhism is a religion of principles. So it gives you principles. So it may not be simply kind of a a social movement, but it is a movement for getting rid of suffering. But when we talk about suffering, the Buddha has talked about all sorts of suffering. They're not just personal suffering, but they're also sufferings caused by communal cravings, or even the national craving. I mean, we had just now reference to the war between Kshatriyas and Shakyas about the distribution of water of Rohini River. Now, this was not a personal conflict. This was a conflict between two communities, right, over the distribution of assets. Now, you can see, I mean, now what is happening in the world. Now, this dukkha which is there, which, for example, it is there due to the war between Ukraine and Russia, or whatever is happening. We could not hear one of our esteemed participants because of this crisis in Sri Lanka. Now, these are not due to personal cravings, right? But these are due to sometimes a craving by a ruling community, like one person who is a ruler and his craving. I mean, it can into war. Now, such conflicts are also solved. When we say Buddha's teaching is universal, what we should also see is that it applies to all sorts of problems, right? Not just personal suffering. जी, मैं मेरी बात को खत्म करूंगा. मेरी जो कहना है 5 मिनट में मैं खत्म करता हूँ. ठीक है जी. So the point, it is universally applicable. Then it is applicable to all sorts of problem. Is, I mean, that issue is personal, about personal purity, personal suffering, or social suffering caused by several social institutions. And that's why we see that the Buddha talked about all sorts of issues. Yeah, he talked about political issues, he talked about social issues, he talked about the problems caused by ritualism, problems caused by caste hierarchy, and so on and so forth. So he was not silent on the issues, and he did not simply talk about I mean, about one's spiritual progress. Because spiritual progress cannot exclude all these other issues. So in this sense too, Buddha's teaching is quite universal. So now about his methodology, I mean, what kind of methodology adopted? That's really a different topic for a discussion. But what we see is that Buddha countered, I mean, people in of faiths, different beliefs, in different ways, engage with them logically, basis of reason, and he also engaged with them by using this wonderful technique of depriving words of their traditional meaning and providing. Professor Shuklaji talked about it. So when he defines what is Brahmana and what is Yajna, he is not supporting those institutions. What he is doing is that he's using the same terminology, but giving it a totally different sense. I mean, if you look at what he means by Yajna, it is nothing but Buddhist practice, right? Because he talks about meditation, he talks about the 4 Brahmavihara practices, and so on. So we had in Vedic tradition. So similarly, we see the same thing happening in terms of when he reinterprets the word Brahmana, for example. So these are the techniques used by the Buddha to engage with certain problems in the society in such a way that his explanation becomes acceptable even to the followers of other beliefs. So this was again, I look at it as Buddha's way of making his teaching universally acceptable. I mean, so this is how. So which we should really consider when we say that Buddha's teachings are universal. I'm very happy that we had a discussion on this, but I'm sure that the speakers in the morning must have talked about this. and I really congratulate the organizers for organizing seminar on this theme. But as I say that, I mean, we have to really go beyond. So look at what we mean by universal, and what we say that Buddha's teaching or Buddha's message is universal. The time is very short, and we could not also talk about some other ideas, which are the principles in Buddhism which make it more universal. I mean, here too, Dr. Ambedkar's categorization of dharma and sadharma, dhamma sadhamma, is also very interesting from that point of view. So we as Buddhist scholars really have these challenges before us to look at Buddhism from this newer perspective, more universally acceptable and universally applicable. Once again, organized and all the participants and all my colleagues who shared today's valedictory session with me. So thank you very much to all of you, and all the best and good wishes to all of you on the occasion of forthcoming Buddha Purnima. Thank you very much.
बहुत बहुत साधुवाद सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। बाबा साहब ने जो ग्रंथ लिखा और उसको बहुत बहुत साधुवाद सर। और कार्यक्रम उद्बोधन के बाद अब जो बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण जो दायित्व रहता है और धन्यवाद ज्ञापन का, तो इन शब्दों के डॉक्टर सुनीता कुमारी मैडम को आमंत्रित करता हूं कि इस संगोष्ठी में, इस सेमिनार में जो बात आई है कि बुद्ध के बाबा साहब कहते हैं कि ये बात, और इस सेमिनार में इतना विमर्श हुआ इसमें सारी शिक्षाओं की शिक्षा है कि कोई निंदा करे, कोई प्रशंसा करे, दान सब कुछ, ये बात। और मैं भी निर्वाण को प्राप्त साहब की कामना के साथ आमंत्रित करता हूँ डॉक्टर सुनीता कुमारी मैडम को। आप हमारे आज के अतिथि का धन्यवाद ज्ञापन करें। जी मैम।
धन्यवाद सर। मैं डॉक्टर सुनीता कुमारी, समाजशास्त्र विभागाध्यक्षा, मारवाड़ी महाविद्यालय दरभंगा, ललित नारायण विश्वविद्यालय। आप सभी को मेरा आदर पूर्वक प्रणाम। आज संस्कृत विभाग मारवाड़ी महाविद्यालय ललित नारायण मिथिला विश्वविद्यालय दरभंगा के द्वारा एक दिवसीय अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सेमिनार कम वेबिनार का आयोजन 3 सत्रों में सफलतापूर्वक संचालित किया गया, जिसका शीर्षक है यूनिवर्सल टीचिंग्स ऑफ द बुद्धा। सर्वप्रथम मैं हमारे इस अंतर्राष्ट्रीय वेबिनार की अध्यक्षता कर रहे आदरणीय प्रोफेसर महेश अशोक देवकर सर, जो कि प्रमुख पाली और अध्ययन विभाग सावित्रीबाई फुले पुणे विश्वविद्यालय पुणे महाराष्ट्र से हैं, आपका धन्यवाद ज्ञापन करती हूँ सर। इसी क्रम में मैं आगे मुख्य अतिथि प्रोफेसर विमलेंद्र कुमार, जो कि पाली और बुद्ध अध्ययन विभाग BHU वाराणसी से हैं, मैं आपको भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देती हूँ। सम्मानित अतिथि डॉक्टर बलराम शुक्ला, एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ संस्कृत यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ दिल्ली से हैं, सर मैं आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देती हूँ सर। विशेष अतिथि डॉक्टर प्रहलाद सोरावित एफिपन्यो, सहायक प्रोफेसर महाचुलोंग पूर्ण राज्य विद्यालय विश्वविद्यालय थाईलैंड से हैं, मैं आपको इस कार्यक्रम में अपनी बातों को रखने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देती हूँ। हेम मिश्रा है डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पाली, जो कि म्यांमार से हैं, मैं आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद ज्ञापन करती हूँ सर। रिपोर्टिंग के लिए डॉक्टर राजेंद्र कुमार, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ संस्कृत जानकी देवी मेमोरियल कॉलेज यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ दिल्ली से हैं, मैं आपका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद व्यक्त करती हूँ। हेतु जो कि आज का उनके द्वारा ये कार्यक्रम पूरा आयोजित किया गया, उसके लिए विकास सर को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अंत में मैं कोऑर्डिनेटर डॉक्टर राम हेत गौतम, जो कि असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ संस्कृत डॉक्टर हरि सिंह गौरी यूनिवर्सिटी सागर MP से हैं, सर ने संचालन समय की महत्ता को देखते हुए किया, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। साथ ही उपस्थित सभी लोगों को जो कि इस वेबिनार से जुड़े हुए हैं और तीनों सत्रों में बहुत ही शालीनता के साथ उपस्थित स्थिति अपने बनाए रखे हुए हैं, उन सभी का मैं धन्यवाद करती हूँ।
तो बहुत पूर्ण मदद करता हूँ कि धर्म पालन गाथा के साथ दान करें।